Hello and welcome back to Chiefsman's Corner, the recorded version. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas, one of the leadership team here in the WFL as the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll be going through some Week 6 action with reviews of all games from our AJ's League Look article. We'll then finish out with our Ask the Chiefs segment, so this might be a little bit shorter of a podcast than normal. If anyone's tuned in for the premiere here tonight on YouTube, I will hopefully be around to interact with it during the premiere. If you are watching this at any time, though, thank you for watching. Any and all support is appreciated. Without you guys, the WFL community doesn't exist. The first thing I want to talk about tonight, as always, is the WFL's incentive plan. The incentive plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve WFL. Anything from Twitter to articles on the Neon Sports site to commenting or participating in the show, even chatting in Discord can earn you points. Anything that makes the WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the Madden community earns you some sort of credit. Link to the incentive plan is available using the command /incentive plan in Discord. That is all one word, /incentive plan in Discord. Apologies for the jump cut in there. I have a cat that's decided she wants to become part of the show as well. The next thing to talk about is our form Ask the Chief. You can use this form during the week between episodes to submit your questions you have for me, and I'll answer them during the show, giving you credit for the question. It is an easy way to build up incentive points and provide extra content for the podcast. You can use the command /Ask the Chief to pull up the form in Discord. That is all one word, /Ask the Chief to pull up the form in Discord. With housekeeping out of the way, let's get to Week 6 action. And here we are with Week 6 action. As you see, first game on the docket. Bengals overcome the Steelers 33-15. It's another interdivisional matchup that saw Russ's Bengals put an end to Key's Steelers' perfect record. Cincinnati's defense was the story of the game as they picked off Pittsburgh quarterback Earl Watkins 5 times. Veteran cornerback Daxton Hill led the way with 2 interceptions of his own, including one which was returned for a touchdown. On top of that, free agency acquisition of wideout Terry McLaurin continues to pay dividends for Russ and the Bengals as he logged 4 catches for 115 yards and 3 touchdowns. For Pittsburgh, their perfect record did come to an end, but there was still some positive takeaways as Najee Harris scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Roman Wilson caught 6 passes for 101 yards, and rookie safety Josh Claiborne logged 7 tackles. In the next game, Buccaneers overcome the Browns 21-17. A key stop by Tampa Bay's defense on the final drive of the game propelled Pompey's Bucs to their 3rd victory of the year. The offense was led by the 2-pronged rushing attack of Bucky Irving and Alvin Kamara, who combined for 103 total yards on 10 rushing attempts and 1 touchdown. Det Van's first game as the new Browns user did not result in a victory, but he did get good production out of second-year wideout James Burnett, who had 6 catches for 112 yards, and running back Tyree Mays, who had 18 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. In the 3rd game on the list of 3 that you see, Broncos beat the Bills 27-20 as Crazy Fast kept his perfect record alive thanks in part to a very strong performance by his defense. In this game, the Broncos defensive unit sacked Josh Allen, man, boy howdy, 4 times, deflected 8 passes and logged 10 total tackles for loss. 5 were by Arnold Ebiketie alone. We'll keep with the theme of defense for this game by highlighting Bills rookie linebacker Sammy Bethel, the University of Washington product and 12th overall pick in the 2026 WFL draft, led his team with 8 tackles, including 1 for a loss. Next up on the docket, Raiders overcoming the Chiefs 24-21. Battle of AFC West foes saw strong performances from both quarterbacks. A very late touchdown and 1 final defensive stop is ultimately what led Jay Burns' Raiders squad to the victory. Las Vegas' signal caller John Rivers played a clean game as he finished completing 20 of 36 passing attempts for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. His counterpart Patrick Mahomes finished the day 18 of 24 passing with 305 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Next up, Vikings beating the Patriots 31-15. The Vikings jumped out early in this one and rode a strong performance from rookie running back Sidney Green to victory. Green, who was picked in the 4th round of the 2026 WFL draft, finished the day with 7 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown to pace the Minnesota offense. Even though the Pats dropped this one, second-year edge rusher Alfonso Torrance filled up the stat sheet with 7 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. Rams beat the Cowboys 24-7. As you can see now on the screen. The Rams' young guns have played good football this season. They did again today with rookie signal caller Cam Cameron completing 12 of 19 pass attempts for 183 yards. Rookie running back Kirk Fisher found the end zone on the ground twice. And second-year receiver Spencer Brown caught 4 passes for 72 yards. For Dallas, outside linebacker Merst Leofau paced the defensive unit with 10 total tackles and 1 sack. Next up, Jaguars and Titans. New user alert. New Jaguars owner, Batman Forever, picked up his first official WFL win in his first official WFL game. Tight end Mario Perez, the 13th overall pick of the 2025 WFL draft, led the Jags offense with 4 catches for 127 yards, but it was the defense that really made the difference today. Saxonville got the Titans quarterback Will Levis 8 times on the day to go with 1 interception. For Tennessee, wideout Treylon Burks had another strong game as he caught 6 passes for 93 yards. In a CPU affair, this was a showdown between NFC North rivals as the Lions beat the Packers 28-21. The Lions came out on top thanks to a ridiculous game by wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 2 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Jerome Baker tallied 13 total tackles, 4 deflections, and 1 interception. For Green Bay, tight end Luke Musgrave paced the offense with 7 catches for 68 yards. In a nail-biting affair, the Falcons come out on top 1 point ahead of the Ravens 17-16 on a day which his offense put up less than 200 total yards. Studley still found a way to march down the field and kick a game-winning field goal to secure his 3rd victory of the season. Linebacker Foyesade Olokun and safety Jamal Adams combined for 21 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss and 1 sack in this victory for the Dirty Birds. For Baltimore, the other Dirty Birds, their passing attack was highlighted by Rashad Bateman and Noah Fant, who combined for 145 yards on 9 total catches. In an NFC South affair, the Panthers come out on top of the Saints 27-21, your final here. The Panthers, eke out a win in the Big Easy thanks to a strong game from their defensive unit. Rookie Jack Bonner logged his first career sack, and his teammate, fellow rookie Markel Hawkins, logged his first career interception during the game. For the Saints, running back Rashad White found the end zone twice on 11 carries, and Pro Bowl wideout Chris Olave caught 5 passes for 96 yards. In interconference matchup affair, this was a CPU game, the last CPU game on the docket. Well, user versus CPU game. And the Jets, the CPU team, beat the Bears 29-15. A defensive battle for 3 quarters that was highlighted by the fact that the Bears' first score of the game came in the form of a safety by linebacker Quincy Williams. Still, offensive stars did shine through, including 3rd-year wide receiver Rob Jones, who caught 7 passes for 120 yards and a touchdown for the Jets. Even though it was a rough day at the office for Caleb Williams, there were still positive signs of newly acquired running back Bijan Robinson being further incorporated into the team's offense. He finished the day with 121 all-purpose yards and 1 receiving touchdown. And we are now at Game of the Week action. In a bit of an upset, I might say, the Chargers beat the Dolphins 31-13. The Game of the Week for Week 6 pitted 2 AFC teams against each other as Smash Mouth's Bolts came away with the victory over Rim's Dolphins, while you could highlight individual performances that led to the Chargers' win, such as Josh Palmer's 5 catches for 115 yards. Really, this game came down to situational football. The Chargers converted all 4 of their red zone trips into touchdowns and finished the day 4 for 7 on 3rd down conversions on offense. In contrast, the Dolphins went 2 of 10 on 3rd down and did not log a red zone touchdown or field goal this game. And that is ultimately what's going to decide most football games, is completing it up in the red zone. Second to last game on the docket sees the Seahawks beating the Giants 33-31. This NFC showdown saw Cheskey put together a 16-point fourth quarter to overcome his deficit against Clyde's Giants. Wideout Jackson Smith and Jigba paced the Seattle offense with 6 catches for 115 yards, while rookie linebacker Cade Kelleher led the Hawks defensive unit with 2 huge interceptions. For the Giants, wideouts Malik Neighbors and Devontae Walker continue to prove they're one of the best receiving duos in the league. The 2 combined for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns on just 10 catches in the game. And in the final game on the docket, we had the Philadelphia Eagles taking care of business against the Cardinals, 28-7 your final here. Takeaways and touchdowns. Excuse me, that summed up Philly's strong win over the Cards. Although quarterback Jalen Hurts threw for less than 150 yards, he did throw 3 passing touchdowns on the day, 2 of which went to rookie tight end Sean Kendrick. On top of that, the Eagles defense picked off rookie quarterback George Battle 5 times, including 3 interceptions by cornerback Quinion Mitchell. Although it was a tough day at the office for Arizona, tight end Trey McBride did have a standout game as he caught 108 passes would be a record. He caught 8 passes for 103 yards and a touchdown on the day. Quick spin around the league and looking at some injury reports, and we're going to look at long-term injuries for teams around the league. For the Bears, Darnell Wright, their right tackle, is out for another 2 to 3 weeks with a dislocated elbow. The Bengals are suffering from the loss of star wideout Jamar Chase for another couple of weeks with a dislocated elbow. Sam Langford for the Bills at outside linebacker has a torn labrum. He is currently sitting on IR. He'll be out another couple of weeks. He can be reactivated after that time frame. The Broncos, Javonte Williams has a torn labrum. Boy, that's a common injury. Out 2 weeks for the Broncos. Not yet on IR, however. Continuing on with the injury report as we continue onward, the Browns are without David Njoku for day-to-day. He is returning from injury. He's currently practicing lightly. He should be available to come back here in the next week or two. For the Chargers, Trent Stanley is a day-to-day with a foot fracture. He must be getting over that fairly quickly. The Chiefs have 2 players that are injured for the next couple of weeks. Felix Anadike Uzoma, defensive end who has a broken finger. Sustained that in practice. He'll be out a couple of weeks. And then Ronnie Hickman, who's been out for most of the season with broken ribs. He's been on IR for a couple of weeks now. He's due to come back in about 2 to 3 weeks. For the Dolphins, it looks like Tyrell Dodson, the middle linebacker, has a broken collarbone. He'll be out pretty close to the rest of the season at this point. We have Hayden Hurst, who also has a broken collarbone for the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be out another 2 weeks as well. Jervin Dexter, who was recently traded from the Bears to the Falcons, has got broken ribs. He's out 3 weeks for the Falcons, whereas Brandon Dorless is due to come back from a torn labrum any day now. His practice window is currently open, and he can come back from IR here fairly soon. The 49ers, Dominic Puni, their right guard, is out for another 2 weeks with an abdominal tear. The Giants are encountering a couple of key injuries on the offensive side of the ball, as Theo Johnson is out for 4 to 6 weeks with a dislocated hip, and John Runyon at left guard is out for a couple of weeks with broken ribs. Brian Burns is day-to-day with a dislocated elbow. He's playing with a brace right now. For the Panthers, Ike Kwanu at tackle, dislocated his ankle. He's out for another month or so. Raiders had a rough sled in that game against the Chiefs where they won by 3. They lost Colton Miller, their star tackle, to a dislocated ankle. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. And Brock Bowers, their other big weapon at tight end, he also dislocated his ankle in this game and is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. May want to get the turf tested at Geehaw Field in Arrowhead. Byron Young is out day-to-day at defensive tackle with a dislocated hip as well. And broken ribs day-to-day for Jalen Warren at the halfback position. So he's just kind of dealing with those, wearing a little bit of a flak jacket there. Ravens have lost a key piece of their defense. Leo Clifton, an outside linebacker, tore his pectoral muscle a couple weeks ago. He is currently sitting on IR. He is out for the rest of the season. For the Saints, it looks like they've lost one of their offensive linemen, Brandon Shepard. He dislocated his hip, and he's out for another month or so. And that is pretty much it for your injury report for around the league. I'd like to thank Austin Jackson for doing that little article for us that I'm reading off of. That's what I'm using for this content. And now we're going to move to the Ask the Chief segment as I get it pulled back up real quick. Let me get it zoomed in for you guys so you can see it. It's going to involve a little bit of scrolling, though. I'm not going to lie, because there is a couple of wordy ones in here. But this is a little bit of more admin-based than what I'm used to, in this. And I'm going to start at the bottom first. And I'm going to go with Rim's question. What are the chances that we implement a strafing rule while being in zone coverage? So, with strafing, the way I personally view it is if you're in zone coverage, you should be strafing. Because essentially you're basically staying kind of flat-footed and basically reacting to guys that come through your zone. I know it doesn't say specifically in the rules, but I'm of the mindset that if you're in zone coverage, you should be strafing. You should never ever be running straight full tilt in zone coverage unless you've fallen behind and have become gambling mode. And those of you that have watched our coverage rules video, which I will link in this particular video, or I'll link in this podcast, I'll link that video here, or in the description, I should say. It does specifically mention that once you commit, you must stick. And if guys are running around like chickens with their heads cut off claiming to be in zone coverage, they are illegal. Point blank. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. They're illegal. The idea behind zone coverage is you are to remain in zone coverage and basically be hovering and ready to react, but you should never already be reacting. If you're in run mode, if you are taking off after a player, you're officially gambling in my book. So if I'm reviewing the film and I see somebody who I deem is in zone coverage, excuse me, based on play art, and suddenly they take off, they are officially gone to gamble mode. If they then try to return back to zone, they're illegal. You can watch the coverage rules video. I cover this pretty extensively and say that once you commit, you've got to stick. Once you gamble, you're done. You lock in on a player, you are locked on that player for the rest of the play. You don't get to come back to your zone. That is the whole point. The gamble part of it is you're gambling that that's the receiver that's going to get the ball, so you're taking a chance. That chance then means you're opening up yourself to damage if that's your wrong gamble, if that's the wrong call. The whole point of the rules around coverage is to prevent someone from being able to cover 2 to 3 zones unrealistically with one player. In Madden, yes, you can do it. It's a freaking video game. That's part of the problem we have, and that's why we have this huge rule book that everyone loves. But part of that legislation, part of that coverage stuff is geared around making sure that if you're in zone, you should be strafing. And if I have to put it specifically in word format, it'll go there real quick, and I'll make sure it's there. But the whole point of the coverage rules video I did was basically if you're in man, you should be basically chasing your man in man coverage. Whoever you're targeted based on play art, that's who you go after. No questions asked. Even if it's cross up, you go after the guy that's assigned to your play art. If that leaves a guy wide open, guess what? That happens in the NFL. Miscommunications happen. Those things happen. Okay? Video game, yeah, it's probably not going to happen as much. But in real life, it does happen. With zone plays, you should be essentially waiting for someone, a threat, to hit your zone. And then at that point, you decide, okay, do I want to react and follow and chase this guy? Or do I want to stay and be ready for another threat to hit my zone and let this guy trail to another follow-up zone? For example, whenever I'm playing zone coverage, I'm playing strafe mode. Even if I got mid-read concept, which essentially means I've got deepest part of the field as a responsibility of the middle linebacker, I'm in strafe mode until I see someone chase and go past me. That could be my responsibility. At that point, I make the decision, do I go with him or do I stay and maybe wait for somebody more shallow? If I wait for the more shallow route, guy might hit me over the top. That's the gamble I take. If I gamble and chase the guy that I'm wanting to chase, if the underneath comes open as a result, I can't immediately come back to it. That's part of the rule. That's the reason we have those coverage rules in place. So, Rim and anybody who's watching this particular portion of the video, if you see someone in zone coverage and they're just chasing and then trying to run back, they're illegal. Period. No argument in my book. And my book is, sorry, kind of what matters. I'm the one who did the coverage rules for this league. So as it stands, I kind of have a vested interest in it. So if you're strafing, you're in zone. If you are chasing, you're in man now. You can't go back to zone. It specifically states in that video. And yeah, it's 35 minutes long. I saw one of our new members kind of comment on that. It's 35 minutes long. Yeah, because it has to be detailed. That's part of it. Unfortunately, words don't really break it down as well as a detailed video does. And I would encourage anyone who's brand new or old to check out those coverage rules. If you have any sort of gray area thoughts about it, check out the coverage rules video. I go over every single coverage and what your responsibilities are based on our zone board. I tell you exactly what you can and can't do based on your coverage assignments. So if you want to make sure you're not breaking the rules, yes, it's a bit of a watch, and I'm not saying it's the most exciting thing in the world, but watch the video. Because if you're running and chasing and then trying to strafe back into zone coverage, you are officially illegal. Period. I'm done with that statement. Okay? I don't want to get off on a high horse about rules in the standard again like I did the last time I did a video. So going back, we're going to go to Studley here. And Studley has a long question, so I'm going to have to scroll around for this one. Is leadership happy with how the running game stats are looking this year in Madden? I'm assuming he means the entire cycle. Are there any adjustments on the horizon or any tips you can throw out there to users to help their running games? It seems that a few users are having a solid success with it this year. To put it point blank short, there's nothing we're really looking at changing at this time because there's not really much to change. The only thing we've tweaked from the last play season to this play season, other than the play clock thing, which is still in testing as far as shortening it from 20 seconds to 15 seconds, I think it's working out fairly well for most games. But that's a digression. Pass blocking is what we were mainly focused on because we've been noticing that guys are either getting the ball out quickly, which is fine. That's part of being a quarterback, is see an opening, hit it as soon as you see it. But we feel like the defensive line is not getting as much push as we'd like. So we did at the beginning of the season. We haven't touched it since before week 1. We dropped pass blocking sliders for users by 5. That was it, by 5. The reason we haven't touched much of the other sliders, especially in the run side, is because some guys are having success and some guys aren't. The things I would say kind of counteract each other with some of the research I did and some of the research that Polio did on my behalf before I got on for a podcast. We looked at it, and the first thing we both said was, hey, make sure your offensive linemen, their traits for penalties is knocked down. Make sure instead of undisciplined, it's at least normal. And I would also ensure your tight ends, maybe even your wide receivers, anybody who potentially could block on a run play, make sure they're not undisciplined for penalty tendency. Because I have noticed in my games, and this is purely my viewpoint on this, I have noticed since I have done the changeover, not just with teams, but with actual offensive lineman stuff, I did notice when I was with the Colts, I spent my sim season basically converting all those guys from undisciplined to normal. And the early part of the season reports were fairly positive. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking per se because I kept being down, so I had to throw more. But I could tell that there was a difference as far as holding penalties. I think that's the big thing guys are getting used to, is we do have a lot of holding penalties probably compared to most leagues. And the thing is, the slider's not that high. I think it's either 55 or 54, but either way, that's not much above normal 50. But it's realistic. Even if you don't like it, it's realistic. Now, are some of the traits in game not realistic? Yeah. Quentin Nelson having undisciplined penalty tendency when I was with the Colts, that was BS. Some of these upper tier linemen being undisciplined in penalty tendency is ridiculous and stupid. And the fact that you have to basically burn two ORP points to get that adjusted one notch is a waste of time, in my opinion. But I will say, in my viewpoint and my experience, it has helped. But to be fair, we also did some research, and the two of the top leading rushers right now, the Bucks and the Chargers, I believe. I know the Chargers. They have like 4. The Chargers in particular, I researched. They have 4 of their 5 top offensive linemen are undisciplined penalty tendency. So my other thing is, keep running the ball. I think that's the only other thing I can suggest is, if it ain't working, keep trying, because eventually it's going to bust through. Because like I've been the Chiefs now for a couple of games, and I know that I've had 1 or 2 really good runs that make my numbers look pretty solid overall. But for the most part, it's like 2 yards, 3 yards, occasionally a 4 or 5 yard carry, and then after that, it pretty much is like maybe, you have issues where it's no gain, but then you'll have that 20 or 25 yard break off that makes everything look decent. You know what I mean? So keeping at it, which I know is not the greatest advice, is one piece of advice I would say. And the other one is, if you have undisciplined players, especially at offensive line and tight end, and fullback if you have one, make sure they're at least normal. Because like I said, since I've had the Chiefs, when I took them over for that off season, I had them for an off season as in my secondary account, and I spent ORP that the Chiefs owner would have had. I spent that on basically converting as many offensive linemen as I could from undisciplined to normal. And I've noticed like the only one that is caught for holding usually is either my tight end, who is undisciplined, or one of my wide receivers who I think is undisciplined, as my cat jumps up here. Hi, Rue. Or it is my right tackle who's currently starting because my normal guy who starts, my rookie, is injured. He's balanced, my rookie. The guy who backs him up is better by overall, but he's undisciplined. That's why he's a backup. So that's why but that's the guy that's getting the holding penalties in my right tackle. Occasionally, I will see one of my normal penalty tendency guys get holding, but it is very rare. I will say if all else fails, one thing that I did have success with, no matter where I was, no matter what my situation was with O-line, is if I saw holding penalties coming up, I would go, and when you first go to call a play, you can hit R3 for coaching adjustments, and under there, there's a segment called blocking. Turn your blocking down to conservative. I will be honest, in my experience, I did not notice a severe drop-off in blocking quality, but I definitely noticed a lack of holding penalties after I was flipping to conservative. So if you're having holding penalties, conservative blocking is always a good way to go. If you can get your guys to normal or even disciplined penalty tendency, that will help immensely. Anybody that can block on a play, even those like odd wide receiver blocks out there on the edges, you may want to consider that as well, making sure everybody is at least normal penalty tendency. And that will help. And then the third thing is just keep running the damn ball. Just keep at it, because it will come through eventually. Now let's go to the last question, which is the one I want to lead into with other stuff as I scroll back across here. Give me just 1 second. Boop. So here we go. We have a lot of new users in the league right now. What are some tips for them in terms of resources to help with incentives, ORP, etc., and who would you recommend they reach out to if they need more clarification? So, first things first, I'm going to try and let me see if I can get this popped up here. I'm gonna try and share it here in a second. Let's see. See if I can share this. Let's see. We'll go here. Come on. Working with old equipment, guys. You got to give me a second. Unfortunately, OBS is being a pain right now. There we go. Properties. So let me flip to... So the first thing I would suggest, now that that's popped up on screen, is this is the help channel. Let me actually be getting a look at it on my screen. There we go. Oh, did it not? Oh, duh. Got to put it up on screen, Bobby, first. All right. So this right here, this is our help channel. If you can see over here on the left-hand side, I realize it's small. You may want to pause, zoom in, whatever you got to do. But essentially, this area, this channel, is not for posting. Nobody other than leadership can post in there. So just a heads up, you can't post in here, but you can look at and react to every post in here. And the point of it is that, like, for example, here's a video series on the video rulebook. This is where essentially I did, which I'm going to have to do an update once we hit the next play season, because we have done some slight tweaks since I did these videos. But that right there is where you can get every section of the rulebook broken down for you in video format. These are long form, which means I do talk at length about most of these rules. I try and break them down as much as I can, especially the ones that I feel need breaking down. So do be aware that these videos can be a little bit long in the tooth, and I apologize in advance. But if you're more of a visual-based learner, that would be the way to go for the video rulebook side. So that way you don't have to read it. It's kind of read to you, quote unquote. So if you react or work better with that, I'd encourage you to use that as a breaking point. WFL breakdowns is another great tool if you are confused by any of WFL's concepts, any of our concepts at all. Almost all of them I have done a breakdown video on, whether it's talking about why we don't allow user defensive tackles, why we don't allow people to use the DT in examples, why we don't, what our coverage rules are, which I talked about earlier whenever Rim's question came up. Anything like 50% list for signing sheet, ORPs, all that stuff I do breakdowns on in video form. Some of them, I won't lie, as I noticed I got a little bit of spit on this computer screen, gross. Some of them, I won't lie, are a bit, might be a little bit outdated. I have to go through, once this play season ends and after we get to a next play season, maybe I'll review that and do some updates on them and get them more refreshed for what we currently do. Most of them, I'd say 90 to 95% of them should be accurate for current rule sets, but there might be some that are a little outdated, which I'll cover. If you all else fails, I'll cover at the end what you should be doing. But this is your help channel to get a look at anything and everything there is to know about the league and what you can do to self-help yourself. There's a link right here for basically a typed out document to get to our custom commands. And I'm kind of, although you won't be able to see it, I clicked on the link and it's coming up now. I want to make sure it's working. So let me make sure it's working, because that's always important, because if you guys can't use it, it's kind of pointless. But the custom commands list is basically a list of all our Me6 bot commands that you can use without the slash in them. So essentially, if it says, say, 4th down, you put the slash in front of it, 4th down, and it will send you, the bot will send you a direct message. You do have to be able to receive direct messages from bots, because all of these are sent via direct message to avoid cluttering up the channel that you requested in, because they may be requested in any channel that you can send a message in. You cannot send it via DM though. But the bot will send it to you in DM form, so do be aware of that. WFL teams open by division. If you want to know what teams are open, that's a good place to go. If you want to really be a super nerd about it, you can go ahead and go here for a Madden 25 WFL play call sheet. These are the play call sheets that we use whenever we do gameplay reviews, and they are highly detailed and were highly a pain in the katukas to make. So if you do use one of those, please make a copy of it on your own Google Doc before you use it, and only alter that which you can alter. If you get to any areas or pages that are locked or anything that looks funky, don't touch it, because it's designed, all these sheets are designed to work with hidden sheets that are out of your viewpoint, usually out of sight, out of mind type of thing, and they're basically designed to facilitate the flow of information, so you can see if you want to really scout a guy out, you can really scout a guy out. They are hefty though. I would suggest not doing them on a phone. I would suggest doing them on a computer, laptop, desktop, tablet, some type of thing you can work with. I would not do that play call sheet on a phone ever. That's a nightmare that I would never wish on anybody. Formation set list. I did this for those that want to make custom playbooks. If you want to know a particular set, how many tight ends, wide receivers, running backs are there, that's a good thing to use. And then obviously there's help commands that you can do inside of Me6 that you can use, which I need to clean some of this stuff out. And then our leadership structure. So if you want to know what particular leader is over what particular area of our league, that's a good place to go as well. Which leads me to, hey, if all else fails, who do I contact? Well, the first thing I would do is use that WFL leadership structure document to contact the person who's kind of over what you're wanting to talk about. For example, if you have an issue with scheduling, that would be Chilkey. If you have an issue, with waivers or with roster movement in general, you'd want to talk to Austin Jackson. He's over our roster stuff. If you have an issue with gameplay, that would be Polio. If, however, those folks do not respond or aren't responding in a fashion that you tolerate for whatever reason, you can DM me about any of these issues. You can also DM Cly about any of these issues. Cly is the co-commissioner of the WFL. He's kind of second in command, and he is capable of responding to anything WFL related. And if all else fails, you can reach out to me. I'm usually listed as available on Discord. That doesn't mean I'm always 24/7, but if you send me a message, I will respond to you as soon as I am able. Bear in mind, obviously, we all have work and other obligations, so that might be delayed a little bit, but I will respond to you as soon as I am able. I'm not always right there ready to answer, but most of the time I try to be. But if you have any questions, whatever they are, please reach out to leadership first. I would strongly urge you to reach out to the leaders who are over a specific thing. But if you look at the leadership structure and what you're wanting to reach out about isn't really listed there, reach out to any of us. I'll be honest, any of my leadership team right now, respond to them. If they don't know the answer, they'll ask us. They'll ask me, they'll ask Clyde, they'll ask somebody else, and we'll get an answer for you. That's the first time, I'll be honest, And this is not a knock on anybody who's current in leadership that's been here for the long haul, but this is truthfully top to bottom probably the best leadership team we've had in WFL. Like as far as participation, willingness to help, knowing their limitations, and knowing when to ask for help. These guys are probably the best of the best. So if you have a problem, reach out. You can tag at WFL Leadership and say, hey, can somebody DM me? One of us will DM you and find out what's going on. If they can't, whoever DMs you can't provide an answer, they'll reach up to the cycle up to get to me. I'm kind of the end all be all, but at the end of the day, we want you to have a fun time in WFL, and having fun means knowing what's going on. And sometimes when you don't know what's going on and you're afraid to ask, don't be afraid to ask. You can also ask in chat too. Chat's not always the most helpful. No offense, chat. Y'all, most of the time, y'all's hearts are good. Sometimes y'all mess up though. But if you really want to know, just reach out to at WFL Leadership. And if you know specifically what type of area, reach out to the specific leader via DM or via a direct, like a tag in the chat. Like for example, again, scheduling, tag at Steelers, Chilkey. If it's waiver wire, tag at Panthers, Austin Jackson. If it's gameplay, at Vikings. You can also tag their roles, which is at WFL Gameplay Guru, at WFL Roster Guru, and at WFL Scheduler. Those roles are basically sent to tag to those individuals as well, and to me. I get tagged on everything, so I tend to know what's going on most of the time. But if all else fails, reach out to me via DM or in chat wanting a DM. Somebody will get back to you, and that's the best. That's honestly, if you can't find it in our self-help stuff we have in the help channel, then ask a member of leadership. I'd rather you ask and find out than be ignorant on it and be punished accordingly, because ignorance is no defense. So if you don't know, ask. If you question something, like if something's odd wording in the rules or whatever, ask, because sometimes we may overlook. We got a big rule book. Sometimes we might overlook some things. Like maybe we need to add some, wording to specific do something. Draw our attention to it. It's okay. We are human. We can make mistakes. This is the league for everybody. So if you're here, if you're watching this video, you're part of the family. If you're part of the family, sometimes you got to ruffle a few feathers. Be respectful about it, and we'll be better for it. With that being said, like I said, basically reach out to leadership, find out what leader you need to talk to them. Worst comes to worst, it'll get up to me and you can talk to me. So that's kind of the chain of command. Please go through leadership first before jumping to me, because I'm like the end point. So if you jump to me, there's no above me. So if you don't like the answer you hear, there's not going to be another answer. At least if you go through the chain of command, if you don't like one answer, you might get a second answer. You might get a different answer, so on and so forth. If you jump to me first, that's it. That's the end all be all. With that being said, though, this has been long-winded. I am sorry, but it's time to hit the outro. And guys, thank you for tuning into this show, whether it's the premiere or whether it's after the fact, whether live quote unquote, or after the fact. I appreciate it. The WFL community appreciates it, and we hope you're entertained by this show. Let us know by throwing us a like, a subscribe, or leaving any sort of comments. Any feedback, good or bad, is always appreciated. And folks, next Monday, I'm going to try and do a live show, but it will probably be the last show of 2024, because I'm hitting in the holiday season. The wife's going to be home more all the time. So my chances to get on and record something will be limited during the holiday season. But I will be on next Monday at very least recorded form, but hopefully in live form early in the afternoon, because the wife gets home early. So it's going to be an early show if I do a live show. But whether it's live or whether it's recorded, we will have a show next week. But until then, the corner is closed.